The fluorescent lights in the ER were still buzzing above my head when I picked up my phone at 2 a.m. and saw it. My sister's Facebook post. A selfie, full smile, glass of wine, #blessed. The caption read, "Finally, a day without the drama queen." 47 likes, 3 laughing emojis from my mother's account. I was lying in a hospital bed with an 4 in my arm because I'd collapsed mid-shift. The hospital called my parents. They never came. But it turns out that post was the least of what my family was doing behind my back. Because while I was working doubles to keep a roof over their heads, my own father had stolen my identity and my 7-year-old daughters to feed a debt I didn't know existed. And they were 2 weeks away from having me declared legally incompetent to take everything I owned. What I did next started with one phone call. And by the end of the month, they were the ones without a home. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. And if you want, drop your location and your local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. My name is Donna. I'm 33. I'm a night shift nurse and a single mom to a 7-year-old named Lily. And this is what happened when I stopped being the person everyone could take from. Now, let me take you back to a Tuesday evening in October, the night my body finally gave out. The hallway at Ridgemont County Hospital smelled like floor wax and stale coffee. I was 14 hours into a shift that was only supposed to be 10 o'clock. Carla, the other night nurse, had called out with the flu, so I stayed. I always stayed. My hands had started shaking around hour 11. Not the kind of shaking you notice, the kind you hide. You press your palms flat against the med cart. You grip the pen a little harder. You breathe through the tremor and chart one more patient. By hour 13, the fluorescent lights had a halo around them. My vision swam at the edges. I told myself it was just the lighting. By hour 14, I was walking down the east corridor toward the nurse's station with a stack of intake forms. My knees buckled first, then the floor came up fast. I don't remember hitting the ground. I remember the sound, the form scattering, a shoe squeaking on tile, someone yelling my name, then the ceiling tiles counting them. 1, 2, 3, the oxygen mask. Severe dehydration, chronic fatigue collapse. That's what the ER attending wrote on my chart. They wanted to keep me overnight for observation and fluids. I didn't argue, I couldn't. Lying in that bed, I stared at my phone. The hospital's emergency contact protocol had already kicked in. They'd called my father, Gerald Paxton. No answer. They'd called my mother, Patricia. Voicemail. I thought about Lily, asleep at home. My mother was supposed to be watching her. She usually did on my night shifts, but no one had called me back to confirm anything. I reached for my phone to text my mother. That's when I saw the Facebook notification. Danielle Marie Paxton, my younger sister, 28 years old. The post was timestamped 40 minutes after the hospital called our parents. The photo was a selfie. Danielle on the living room couch. My couch in my house holding a glass of red wine. Full smile. No filter needed when you're that pleased with yourself. The caption read, "Finally, a day without the drama queen." 47 likes. I scrolled through them. Names I recognized. Karen from the church prayer group. Mike who ran the hardware store. Janine, my mother's walking partner. People from Ridgemont. People who knew me. One comment stood out. Brenda Hollister, who lived 2 streets over. Is she being dramatic again? Danielle's reply. You have no idea. I kept scrolling. 3 laughing face reactions at the top. I tapped to see who. The third one was my mother, Patricia Paxton. A laughing emoji while her oldest daughter was lying in a hospital bed alone. I set the phone face down on the thin hospital blanket. I didn't cry. I looked at the ceiling tiles again. This wasn't new. That's the part that sat heaviest. Every time I got sick, every time I asked for help, every time my body showed any sign of breaking under the weight I carried, the word was always the same. Dramatic. The first time I collapsed 2 years ago, my father didn't even come upstairs. He said it from the kitchen doorway. Nurses don't collapse. You just want attention. I picked the phone back up and screenshot the post. I don't know why. Instinct maybe. Or maybe some part of me already knew I'd need it. But that Facebook post, that was just the wound I could see. The real damage was in places I hadn't thought to look yet. They discharged me the next morning at 7:15. I drove myself home. 30 minutes on Route 9, with the window cracked because the car heater made me dizzy. The October air was sharp and wet, and it kept me upright. I pulled into the driveway of 412 Maple Lane, the house my grandmother Helen left me when she passed 12 years ago. A 3-bedroom Cape Cod with a leaning mailbox and a porch that needed painting. The deed filed at the county recorder's office read one name, Donna Marie Paxton, sole owner, fee, simple absolute. I walked through the front door. Gerald sat in the recliner watching a morning talk show. He glanced up, glanced back at the screen. You look fine. Don't make a thing out of it. In the kitchen, my mother stood at the stove stirring oatmeal. She didn't turn around. There's coffee if you want it. Danielle was on the sofa scrolling her phone. She didn't look up at all. I stood in the hallway of my own house and waited. 3 seconds, 5. Nobody asked. Nobody said, "Are you okay?" Nobody said anything. I went upstairs. Lily was sitting on her bed already dressed for school, her backpack on. She threw her arms around me. "Mama, Grandpa said you were just tired." "I'm okay, baby," I said. "Let me change and I'll take you." I held her for a long time. Then I sat her down and looked around the room. Her small room in the house my grandmother gave me. The house where my family lived rent-free because I believed that's what family meant. Standing in that hallway, I felt like a guest in my own home. On the kitchen table, I'd noticed a white envelope. Return address. The county courthouse. It was addressed to Gerald Paxton. I didn't open it. It wasn't my mail, but I remembered it. I didn't know what that envelope was about. Not yet, but I would. And when I did, it changed everything. 1 week later, I was back at work. Reduced hours. The charge nurse insisted. My body was recovering. My mind was not. The hospital's billing department needed updated financial information for my ER visit. Insurance verification, payment plan options, the usual paperwork. The billing coordinator, a woman named Janet, suggested I check my credit report to make sure everything was current. Just in case there are any liens or issues with your insurance claims, she said. I'd never checked my credit report, not once in 33 years. I didn't have credit card debt. I didn't have a car loan. I owned my house outright. There was nothing to check. Or so I thought. That evening, I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot with my laptop balanced on the steering wheel. I went to annualcreditreport.com and pulled all 3 bureaus. The number hit me first. Credit score 520. That couldn't be right. I had no debt. I paid my bills on time. I'd never missed a payment on anything in my life. Then I saw them. 3 credit card accounts I'd never opened. One with a $22,000 balance. One with $14,500. One with $10,500. Total $47,000. All opened within the last 3 years. Minimum payments made for a few months on each, then nothing. Delinquent. Sent to collections. My hands were shaking again. Not from fatigue this time. I called the number listed for First Union Bank. A man named Russell Briggs answered. Senior credit analyst at the Ridgemont branch. I verified my identity, date of birth, last 4 of my social, mother's maiden name. Ma'am, he said and paused. The applications were submitted using your social security number. The billing address on all 3 is your home address. I knew whose handwriting that was before I even opened the attachment. Russell emailed me the scanned applications that night. I opened them sitting in the parking lot of a McDonald's because I didn't want to be in the house when I looked. The signature on the first application leaned hard to the right. The capital P in Paxton had that small curl at the top, a habit my father never broke. I'd watched him sign birthday cards, school permission slips, and church donation envelopes with that same hand for 30 years. Gerald Raymond Paxton. He hadn't even tried to imitate my handwriting. He'd just signed his name on my life and assumed I'd never look. I sat in that parking lot for 10 minutes. Engine off, screen glowing in the dark. $47,000. That was almost 2 years of my take-home pay after taxes. Money I never borrowed. Money I never spent. Money that was now destroying my credit score while she practiced real estate and property law in Grover City, 30 minutes east. We hadn't talked in a few months. I didn't waste time on small talk. Maggie, I need help. I think my father stole my identity. She was quiet for 2 seconds. Then don't confront him. Don't mention it. Come to my office tomorrow morning. Bring everything. Before she hung up, she said one more thing. Donna, check your daughter's credit, too. I froze. That night, I waited until Lily was asleep. I tucked the blanket around her shoulders, closed her door halfway the way she liked it, and went to my room. Checking credit for a minor isn't like pulling your own report. You have to contact each bureau directly. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, with the child's social security number, a copy of their birth certificate, and your ID as the parent. I started the process online. One bureau had a result within the hour. A credit card opened 6 months ago in the name of Lily Marie Paxton. Balance $1,200. I closed the laptop slowly. I set it on the nightstand and stared at Lily's door down the hall. She was 7. She could barely write her own name in cursive. And someone had used her social security number, a number I kept in a locked file box in my bedroom closet, to open a line of credit. I got up and went to the closet. The file box was there. The lock was intact, but when I opened it, I noticed gaps. My original birth certificate gone. My old social security card gone. Lily's social security card was still there, but someone had handled the folder recently. The papers were out of order. You can take from me. You can call me dramatic. You can laugh at me on the internet while I'm lying in an emergency room. But you do not touch my child. That is the line. There is no second chance after that line. I didn't go downstairs. I didn't scream. I sat on the edge of my bed and made a list. Credit reports, deed, Lily's birth certificate, scanned signatures, everything Maggie needed, and that envelope from the county court. I still hadn't found out what it said. Maggie's office was above a dry cleaner on Main Street in Grover City. Small town lawyer, small town office. But the woman behind the desk was anything but small. She read through my credit reports in silence, making notes in the margins with a red pen. This is textbook familial identity theft, she said. Federal crime. All 3 applications used your social, your address, and a forged signature. I handed her my phone with the photo I'd taken of the courthouse envelope on Gerald's kitchen table. She studied the return address. You didn't open it? It's not my mail. Smart. She turned to her computer and pulled up the county court's public docket, typed in my name, scrolled, stopped. I watched her face change. Not dramatically. Maggie was never dramatic, but her jaw tightened by a fraction. Donna. She turned the screen toward me. Your father filed a petition for guardianship over you 2 weeks ago. I read the screen. Petition for guardianship of Donna Marie Paxton. Filed by Gerald R. Paxton. The stated reason. Respondent has a documented history of medical episodes consistent with diminished mental capacity. Under the section for supporting witnesses, one name, Danielle Paxton. The petition was filed 3 days after my last hospitalization. 3 days. They'd been waiting for me to collapse so they'd have fresh paperwork. If this goes through, Maggie said quietly, your father becomes your legal guardian. He controls your finances. He can sell the house. My house. The house my grandmother left to me. The house where Gerald Paxton had lived rent-free for 12 years while stealing my identity and gambling away $47,000 under my name. My own sister signed a sworn statement saying I was mentally unfit. The same sister who posted a selfie while I was in the ER. Maggie told me not to confront him. But that evening, standing in the kitchen of my own house, I needed to see his face when I asked, not to expose him, just to know. Gerald was pouring coffee, his back to me. The TV murmured from the living room. Dad, have you ever used my social security number for anything? He didn't turn around. What kind of question is that? A straightforward one. He set the pot down, still facing the counter. No, why would I? I checked my credit today. 5 seconds of silence. He picked up his mug, took a sip, turned around slowly. His face was flat, practiced. Credit reports have errors all the time. Don't get worked up. 3 cards, $47,000. His eyes flickered just for a half second, then steadied. I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't appreciate the accusation. My mother appeared in the doorway. She must have been listening from the hall. What's going on? Gerald cut in before I could answer. She's starting again. Patricia looked at me with that particular expression, the one she wore when she wanted me to feel like the problem. Please don't do this tonight. We just had dinner. I looked at my mother. Did you know? No. What? Donna, you're scaring me. I held her eyes for a long moment. Then I stood up from the table. Okay. I walked to the stairs. I was 4 steps up when I heard it. Gerald's voice, low, almost a hiss, directed at Patricia. She's digging. We need to move faster. He didn't know I could hear. And he didn't know I already knew what they were moving toward. The next morning, I was packing Lily's lunch, turkey sandwich, apple slices, juice box, when my phone rang. Danielle. I answered, hey. Her voice was soft, concerned. The performance had already started. I heard you were upset about some credit stuff. Dad told me. Did he? Look, everyone's worried about you after the hospital thing. Maybe you should take a break. Like really talk to someone. You mean a therapist to prove I'm unstable? A pause. She recovered quickly. I mean someone who can help. Danny, did you sign a document at the county courthouse 2 weeks ago? The pause this time was longer. I could hear her breathing shift. That was just in case. Dad said it was to protect you. Protect me from what? From yourself, Donna. You collapsed at work twice in 3 years. You can't keep going like this. I closed Lily's lunchbox. Click. I collapsed because I work 70 hours a week to keep a roof over all 4 of you in my house. It's the family's house. Read the deed. Danny. She hung up. Lily came downstairs with her backpack. Who was on the phone? Mama. Aunt Danny. Is she coming over? No, baby. Let's get you to school. I drove Lily to Ridgemont Elementary and watched her walk through the doors. Then I sat in the car for a minute, gripping the steering wheel. 10 minutes later, Gerald called. I let it ring through to voicemail. His voice was tight, controlled. The way it got when he was cornered. You need to stop this nonsense, girl. I'm your father. Everything I've done is for this family. If you push this, you won't have a family left. And I already told Pastor Avery we're having a family meeting Sunday to sort this out together the way families do. I saved the voicemail. I was going to need it. 2 days later, I was back in Maggie's office. She had the deed spread out on her desk, beside a property title search she'd run overnight. Donna Marie Paxton, sole owner. Fee, simple absolute. She read aloud. No co-owners, no liens except the fraudulent credit accounts, which we'll have removed once the identity theft report processes. No mortgage, clean title, so I can sell it. You can sell it today if you want. You don't need anyone's permission. They've lived there 12 years. Can they claim anything? Maggie leaned back. Did they ever pay rent? No. Is there a lease, written or verbal agreement? No, they're my parents. I just let them stay. Then legally, they're lenses. You can revoke that license with 30 days written notice. Ohio law doesn't require more than that for non-tenants without a lease. I sat with that for a moment. 12 years of open doors, and legally, they had less right to that house than a month-to-month renter. Maggie gave me the name of a realtor in Grover City, not Ridgemont, where gossip traveled faster than the mail. I met her the following afternoon. Her name was Lynn Draper. She walked through 412 Maple Lane while my family was out. Gerald at his Tuesday card game, Patricia at the church, Danielle at work. Lynn took photos, measured rooms, and checked the roof from the driveway. I'd listed at 185, she said. Solid neighborhood, good bones. I signed the listing agreement in her car, but I told her to hold it. Don't put it on the MLS yet. When? She asked. I'll tell you when. The house was ready to go, but I needed one more thing before I could move. The next morning, I filed identity theft reports on identitytheft.gov. One for me, one for Lily. The FTC assigned case numbers within minutes. I printed the confirmations and drove to the Ridgemont Police Department. Officer Dale Harris was at the front desk. Mid-40s, crew cut, a calm face that had probably heard worse. I laid the credit reports, the scanned applications with Gerald's handwriting, and the FTC confirmation numbers on the counter. I need to file a report for identity theft, I said. The person who did it is my father. He lives in my house. Harris looked at the paperwork, looked at me, nodded once. Have a seat, ma'am. This will take about an hour. It took an hour and 20 minutes. He documented everything, gave me a case number and his direct line. That afternoon, Maggie filed a motion to dismiss the guardianship petition at the county court. She attached two things. First, a letter from my personal physician, Dr. Annette Rohr, confirming that my hospitalizations were caused by physical exhaustion and dehydration, not mental illness, not cognitive impairment, not diminished capacity. Second, the identity theft report establishing that Gerald had a direct financial motive to gain control of my assets. The judge will see this before the hearing date. Maggie said, it's strong. That night, I listened to Gerald's voicemail one more time. His voice played through my earbuds while Lily slept down the hall. If you push this, you won't have a family left. And I already told Pastor Avery, we're having a family meeting Sunday to sort this out together, the way families do. He wanted a public meeting. He wanted the church behind him. He wanted 25 witnesses to see his unstable daughter fall apart. Fine, I'd give him his meeting. Okay, I need to pause here for a second because I know what some of you might be thinking. Why didn't I just confront my father directly and handle this privately? And honestly, I tried. You heard that conversation in the kitchen. He looked me in the eyes and lied. My mother pretended she didn't understand. My sister told me I needed professional help. The same sister who signed a court document to have me declared incompetent. So, let me ask you this. If your father opened a credit card under your 7-year-old daughter's name, would you keep it in the family? Tell me in the comments. Now back to the story because Sunday was coming. Sunday came cold and bright. Ridgemont Community Church sat at the end of Oakwood Drive. White clapboard, narrow steeple, a gravel parking lot that crunched under every tire. I'd been baptized there. Lily had been baptized there. My grandmother Helen's funeral had been held in the front pew 12 years ago. After the morning service, Gerald stood up near the coffee table in the fellowship hall and announced that the family was hosting a potluck gathering. Most of the congregation stayed. He'd been working the room all week. I learned this later. Phone calls, private conversations after Wednesday prayer group. We're worried about Donna. She hasn't been herself. We'd appreciate your support. 25 people arranged their folding chairs in a loose circle on the linoleum floor. Metal legs scraping tile. The fluorescent lights hummed the same pitch as the ones in the ER. I noticed that Pastor Tom Avery sat at the head of the circle, Bible on his knee, looking like a man who'd agreed to referee something he didn't fully understand. Gerald sat across from him, pressed shirt, serious expression, the concerned patriarch. Patricia was beside him, eyes already red, tissue in her hand, ready. Danielle sat to their left, arms crossed, jaw tight. I walked in with Lily. She was carrying a coloring book and a box of crayons. I found 2 chairs near the door and sat down. 25 faces turned toward me, some with sympathy, some with curiosity, a few with the particular look people get when they've already decided what they're seeing. Gerald cleared his throat and stood. Thank you all for being here. As some of you know, our Donna has been going through a difficult time. He swept his gaze across the room. She's been in the hospital twice. She's been under a lot of stress. Pat and we're worried. We want to make sure she gets the help she needs. Patricia dabbed her eyes with the tissue on cue. We just love her so much. A murmur of sympathy rippled through the chairs. I watched heads nod. Glenda Morrison, 70 years old and sitting near the window, pressed her hand to her chest. Ted Buckley, mid-50s, leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. The room was tilting Gerald's direction, and he knew it. He continued, voice steady, measured, the voice of a man who'd rehearsed this. I know this is hard to hear, but Donna has been making some irrational decisions lately, accusing family members of crimes. He paused to let that word land, threatening to sell the family home. The murmur grew louder. I felt the weight of it. 25 people recalibrating who I was in their minds. Ted Buckley shook his head slowly. Maybe she does need someone looking out for her. Gerald nodded, grateful, humble, perfectly calibrated. The court needs to know that the community sees what we see, that she needs someone to help manage her affairs, just temporarily until she's better. Danielle uncrossed her arms long enough to wipe her eyes. Her mascara didn't run. I noticed that, too. I sat still. Lily colored beside me, a purple house with a yellow sun. The sound of her crayon on paper was the only honest thing in that room. Pastor Avery shifted in his chair. He looked at Gerald, then at me. Something in his expression was still unsettled. "Gerald," he said carefully, "has Donna agreed to this meeting?" Gerald spread his hands.